It is true that it's rather expensive, Frolight, but you always have to calculate your return of your investment. And if you see how much money you lose with not protecting, and if you see the money goes into the work you need at night, it's also very expensive to have people to work at night, because you sometimes have to double the fee when they work at night. If you really calculate it for your vineyard, you will soon find out and see that it's actually okay. But if you write off your investment in a few years, that you will have your money back soon. One of our bigger clients invested a lot of money in Frolight, and it was a big amount, and we were all like, whoa, this is a huge amount, but they covered more than 5 hectares with it. But they had one frost event and they gained their money back after one frost event. So if they wouldn't have had Frolight, they would have lost everything. So their investment was already paid after 1 year. You can say yes, but they could have used candles. That's true, but they were really in trouble with finding people, so they had to make choices. So they couldn't cover everything with the candles, because it just needs too much people for 5 hectares to cover everything with candles. You need a lot of work, so you cannot do it with 2 or 3. You need, for every hectare, you need 3 or 4 persons. So that would have been 15 people that would work all night long in order to keep the bougies, the candles, running, which is a crazy amount. And today they chose Frolight. It was a bigger investment than the candles, but they could choose when to install. So they could use the people that were already there at the vineyard and ask them to install Frolight, the guys that were pruning. So that means that it's the same people, you already know them, they're already used to work, and they don't have to change their schedule. They can just install Frolight during the day, which is also a big advantage, and cost effectively is way better than another solution where you have to work at night. Finger Lake, New York. It's also one of the regions where we never heard about before working with Frolight or starting with the frost. And once you open the lid, you get a lot of stories, a lot of issues of frost. So it's one of the regions where we really, the stories hit us really bad, like, whoa, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of issues. So we are also focusing on that region. New York problem is severe, the frost issues are severe. Yeah, we did some tests there, and it's very successful. We are really happy to see there's a lot going on and that we have a market there. Let me compare it to other regions, or Frolight is active worldwide. If we look at the US, we really see that frost issue is there, it's a fixed thing. Whereas here in Belgium, for example, it's still a thing that people keep in mind and they have issues with it. It's still like now and then. So people will tend to say like, well, I will wait for some, maybe this year it will not freeze, and you will see that people will wait and look at the neighbors, and whereas in US we really see that the issue is like every year. People just have the issue. There are some wine growers that quit, that just stop because they have it every year. So that's a reason why I think Frolight can really make a change, because if Frolight can make sure that you can save your crop, you don't have to quit the vineyard business, because the other solutions will bring too much work, or will have other issues why we see that people decide to stop the business. It's every year. We hear the stories that every year they are sure that they will have frost, and they have frost every year. So we had the question if it's true that in the Loire region there is a generator that they rent every 2 months is 50,000 euros. It's more or less correct. The amount is more or less correct, but that means it's a really big installation. So it's more than one generator. It's actually 3 big generators, and everything is included. So also all the cables that run from the generator to all the control units, also the installation and the maintenance, so which is bigger than only just renting the generator. If it would be only one, it would be a lot less. So you have to see this as more as a festival village, where you have different locations, and you need to put, and it's like somebody needs to go there and put everything. It's a lot of work. So that's also why they decided this year to change to a fixed installation. So this year, to avoid also that yearly cost, and that's also that Frolight promotes, is to have your Frolight installation on the grid. Of course, if possible, it's not always possible, but if it's possible to put it on the grid, then you also have the choice to go with green energy, which is something that Frolight would also supports, because we try to be a durable, sustainable company. So we promote sustainability. We already have a big solution with the heat being more effective at the place where it should go. So it's already more effective, but if you can do it 100%, it's always better. The 50,000 euros, then we are talking about the generators and all the power requirements to the Frolight. So it's separate from the Frolight because you bought the Frolight, and that's another portion of it. So it's not included in the 50,000 euros. You could actually say that it's more or less 10,000 euros per hectare, because they're running this on 5 hectares, the 50,000 euros. So if you would divide, if you have 1 hectare, it will be more or less 10,000 euros for 1 year with all the cables going to the Frolight. What I would say to a grower that sees Frolight and then says, wow, for me that's way too expensive, I would say that he probably doesn't know, I don't want to be patronizing, but he probably doesn't know how much he loses every year. If we would present him black on white on a paper, like this is what you earn every year, this is what you lose if it freezes. In most cases, yeah, you will see that you get your installation back, so it's worth the money. It's worth investing the money, even maybe just for the peace of mind, you know. It also costs money. You want to be with your children, with your family, and Frolight can also make that happen. So some people ask us, why don't you use Frolight to stimulate growth? Frolight doesn't want to go against nature. For Frolight, it's really important that we solve a problem. We are not creating a new culture. It's also not possible. So we really want only to solve the problems that are there. We often get the question of how much power it needs. And it's a simple answer. It's 15 watts per meter. Some people think that's not enough. Some people think it's a lot. We go up to down to -6. In order to have such a temperature and save your crop, you need power. You need to be able to provide the power. So luckily it's only a few hours. Yeah, you don't need this power a long time, but you need to provide it, the current. So yes, that's it, 15 watts. So I think that I can speak with reason because I'm a wine grower myself. So we get people tell us like, yeah, we make a big fire every year. That's really nice, and it's good if you have a frost event for 1 night, because then you ask some friends and family to come over and they help you. But what we see due to the climate change is that we see that the frost nights are becoming more frequent. So we have more frost nights. So that means for 1 night, lighting a fire all night long, no problem. But what if you have 2 or 3 frost nights? Yeah, then you need to ask the same people, can you help me? Or you're alone, you don't have a lot of sleep. And you know, that's what we really see happening. And that's what we want to resolve or solve. Because you don't need to be up 3 nights if it's freezing. If you have Frolight installed, it's for, even if it's 10 nights, you will be always covered, so you don't need to work anymore. But Frolight, however, is the first system in the world to use infrared technology to cover crops from frost. We have a worldwide patent. It's granted everywhere in the world, which means that everybody agrees that this is something new and that it's working. If we talk about the frost nights, Frolight not only prevents death by frost, so that the plant dies, but what it also does is making the shock less big. So the plant, when it's really cold, the plant goes into a shock. And we see that if Frolight starts at 3 degrees already, so we see that if it's really cold, Frolight will take that cold a bit away. So this means that the plant will be happier and will not go into shock, into stress mode. So it's less stress for the plant. So that's a double effect that we see with Frolight. If it comes to the mission of Frolight, wine growers should accept and be great about new technology, because wine growing is a very traditional, classical way. We all respect that because it's really nice to have classical and you know, and the wine, it's a product, it's a great product, but the world is changing, technology is rapidly going, and Frolight provides a really good solution.